If you're convinced that gardening is either too hard or just way too complicated, you've likely been listening to the wrong teachers. Today, I'm going to show you 3 ways to make gardening so easy you can do it with your eyes closed. The first and most important rule, if you want to be sure that gardening is easy, you've got to grow plants. Only grow plants that can be planted directly by seed right into the soil of your garden. Now, a lot of people, they're going to talk about starting seeds indoors. That's the hardest way. So you get seeds, you buy all the planting trays, you have to get artificial lights because window lights won't be enough. For a lot of the plants, you're going to need heat mats. Then you're also going to need a watering system that's either manual and done by you every single day, every few days, or that's run with a system that's regulated. You're gonna have to be sure that while these plants are growing indoors, which is very hard, that they don't get attacked by pests, that they don't have disease, that they don't have any mold or mildew on them. Then when they're finally big enough to come outside and get put into the garden, they've got to get warmed up. So you have to actually bring them outdoors, then bring them back inside for like 3, 4, 5 days, maybe even a week or 2 before you can finally put them into the garden. That is the hardest way to get plants into your garden. It works, it's for pros, but for those of us who want gardening to be easy, it's not a fit. The second way that most people get their plants for their garden is they go to the plant shop and buy them. This is also pretty hard and also very expensive. Every plant that you get from the shop, it's going to be at least $3 to $5 per plant. And when you buy that plant, you have no idea how it was grown. Was it grown with fertilizer, herbicide, pesticide? You also don't know if it's had periods where the plant got stressed out. Was there a period where they stopped watering it and it dried out? Was there a point where the plant had grown too big for its pot size and its roots had become root bound? You won't know any of this until you get the plant home. And the likelihood of you getting the plant home and then getting it into your garden in a timely manner, let's be honest, we've all had plants just sit on the porch and die a slow death. I know I have. Those are the 2 traditional ways that people get plants for their garden, and they both make gardening really hard. The easy way is to only plant plants that love to grow directly from seed, grown directly in the garden. So these kinds of seeds, these are some great examples. We've got lettuce, we've got bush bean seeds, we've got zucchini, and we've got peas. These are just a few of the seeds that are in our Easy Garden Kit. I'll link it right below this video. So these plants, you put the seed right in the soil when it's the right temperature. For lettuce, this is going to grow when it's cool outside. For peas, same thing. They don't mind frost. And then for zucchini and beans, they're going to grow when there's no chance of frost. You take the seed, you put it directly in the soil of your garden, you keep it watered, and you'll get sprouts in literally 5 to 10 days from putting these seeds in the dirt. You don't have to have lights. You don't have to have heat mats. You don't have to monitor it all the time. You don't have to move it out, move it in, move it out, move it in. You don't need any special equipment. And then you don't have to spend tons of money for it at the store. These seeds in our Easy Garden Kit, I think they're less than like $3 a piece. So you can buy a seed packet that's got 10, 20, 100 seeds in the one packet for less than you can buy just one plant at the shop. Plus, studies have shown that when these seeds start directly in the soil, when they never have to get transplanted, they are much healthier plants. Think about us when we have to pick up and move our stuff, when we have to go on a trip, right? There's stress involved, there's anxiety involved, and there's a reason why plants are called plants, because they like to stay planted. So every time you pick up and move a plant from one space to the other, it gets stressed. It slows down its production. It isn't as viable as it is if you just leave it in the same place. So the way to make gardening easy, the number one rule, I've got 2 others that are also very good, but this is the number one way, which is to grow directly from seed that's planted directly in the soil. These seeds grow fast. In 5 to 10 days, you'll start to see your first seed sprout. And then within 50 to 60 days, you'll get your first harvest. And that brings us to easy tip number 2. The next way to make gardening easy is to only grow things that give you multiple harvests or that can be grown in succession over a long period of time. So the traditional way of gardening is planting all at once and then waiting a really long time and then harvesting all at once and then preserving all at once. So canning, 10, 20, 100 jars of green beans all at once. And I don't know about you, but for me, I don't have 5, 10, 15 days to spend harvesting a ton of produce and then putting it all up for the winter. Instead, for me, and I think for you too, we're looking for a way to have little bites from the garden every single day, at least every single week, rather than these huge piles of produce that we have to do something with immediately before they spoil. So the way to make gardening easy is to grow things that are cut and come again. Grow things that give you prolific harvest. Grow things that you can cut from today and then come back to 3-5 days later and cut from again. Or grow things that can be planted in succession over a single season. So where you can plant one row of seeds now and then come back 2 to 3 weeks and plant another row so that you get a large harvest to feed your family, to make dishes with next week and the week after that. And then when you come back a month later, there's another set of harvests waiting for you. Here's some examples that I love to use for cut and come again varieties. First is spinach. So spinach and other leafy greens, they're fantastic for this, where you don't have all this harvest that you need to preserve. Instead, every single day, maybe every other day, I can come out and cut some spinach to put in a smoothie, to make an omelet with, to make a salad for dinner. I can have 5 or 6 different meals over 2 to 3 weeks just from a little small patch of spinach because it's cut and come again. Another example is cucumbers. Growing on the vine, I can come out almost every morning and pick 1 or 2 cucumbers that I put in my daughter's lunch, that I add to a tzatziki sauce for dinner, or that I chop up and make a little fresh salad in the middle of the summer. I get to use cucumbers almost every other day in my kitchen, but I don't have to deal with huge loads of produce that I've got to do something with immediately. And then in the flower department, zinnias are a great example of cut and come again, where every single time you cut from a zinnia, right in that spot, you'll get 2 new branches that are going to give you more blooms. So you don't have to cut all these flowers all at once and find some way to display them. Instead, you can have a few fresh cut flowers every few days from your garden, always knowing there'll be some more there when you come back later. These 3 seeds are also in the Easy Garden Kit, and you can find a link to that right below this video. Now you're probably thinking, yeah, easy to grow from seed and you get a lot of harvest, but these plants still sound really complicated to take care of. And that's why you got to cover point number 3. The third rule to be sure that gardening is actually easy is to only grow plants that are low maintenance. I like to call them easy peasy plants. These are plants that do not need you to give them a lot of attention as they're growing and doing their thing. In fact, it's even better if you grow plants that need absolutely no attention past planting and watering and harvesting. Those are the kind of plants I try to fill my garden with most. Plants that I can put in by seed directly in the soil, water, make sure they stay watered, and then just come back 25 days, 45 days, 75 days later, pull the harvest, and then be on my way. Sounds too good to be true, right? That's because most of us watch gardeners who have plants that they have to prune every single week, or that they need to give extra fertilizer or feed to, that they need to deal with all kinds of pest problems and disease problems. They focus on plants that need a lot of attention, a lot of trellising and supporting, a lot of nutrients added to the soil. Those kind of plants are fun to grow, and it's exciting to get huge harvest from those plants, but they're not easy. If you want gardening to be easy, you got to focus on low maintenance plants. So here are some examples. Arugula, pretty much any leafy green that you want to grow in a garden, it's going to be coming under the easy button, all right? Because these things, you get the seed in the ground, make sure it's rightly spaced, give it about 9 per square foot, make sure it stays watered, and you've got one job after that, literally one job, and that is to cut, and to cut some more. Your only job is just to make a bunch of salad, all right? Arugula is one of my favorites. It's probably the easiest plant to grow in the entire universe of plants that you can grow in a kitchen garden. So arugula has to be at the top of the list. 2 other examples are radishes and carrots. So radishes and carrots both go in the ground just as seeds. Make sure you space them right to begin with. 2 fingers for radishes, 3 fingers for carrots. Keep them watered, and literally within 40 days, you're going to be harvesting your radishes. Within 65 to 70 days, you're going to be harvesting your carrots. If you don't know my method, my leaves, roots, and fruit method, it's a system that helps us understand how difficult difficult plants are to grow. Leaves are at the bottom for a reason because they're the easiest. Root crops are next because they're a little bit harder. So you'll notice the 3 plants I picked for these easy, low maintenance plants, they're leaves and roots. So for the most part, leaves and roots are going to fall into that category of being super low maintenance and easy to care for. You can get all these seeds that grow just the way we've talked about today inside the Easy Garden Kit that comes complete with all my video tutorials in the Easy Garden School, recipe ideas, planting plans, growing guides, all the good stuff for less than 40 bucks right below this video. Now, if you're still not believing me that gardening really is super easy, you gotta check out this video of how I dump an entire one of these seed packages into just one bed. Watch that video right here.